My name is Joe Dalton, entrepreneur and business coach. Welcome to Breakthrough Brands. Each week we bring you an inspirational story and an insight to the minds of some of the top business leaders, authors and mentors from around the globe. Whatever is needed to make you shine in life and business, you'll find it here.
On this week's show, we have Leslie Fieger. Leslie is a successful entrepreneur whose businesses have produced over $100 million in sales. Additionally, people he has worked with and coached have gone on to create millions of dollars in new wealth for themselves. Leslie believes that material wealth is one important aspect of creating and living a super successful life. He defines wealth as a holistic blend of physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and material well-being. His focus is on empowering people to understand how they can become conscious creators of their own lives by knowing and applying certain immutable universal principles to craft prosperity and abundance in all areas of life.
If you wish to reach me about any of the topics covered in this episode or any other episode, you can get me on WhatsApp 086 821 0037 or email joe@jdc.ie or follow me on LinkedIn under Joseph Dalton. I also need your help to spread the word. If you could please take 2 minutes to share, like or make a comment on this episode, I would be truly grateful. How are you, my sir?
It is great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm delighted to have you. We've seen you speak on the weekend. There's a lot of people who were giving great feedback, and I just thought it'd be nice to have you in and spread the love.
Thank you.
So tell me, before we get into what you're doing, where did your journey lead you to where you are now? What made you, at an early age, was it from the age of 7 you figured things out, or was it from 14? Can you tell us your journey?
I'm still figuring things out. Personal development-wise, I grew up in a home where my father had Think and Grow Rich as a book on the bookshelf. He had Earl Nightingale's great long play record, The Greatest Secret. So it's been a journey of a lifetime. I have more than often strayed from that path, but have kept coming back to it. And at the age of 45 was when I made my definitive choice to spend the remainder of my days being a contribution to my fellow human beings.
Was it always a career in self-development? Saying you're talking about your family and it was ingrained into you, so it was probably without you realising it was your subconscious mind was tricking through all these things. Before 44 and in the age of 20, what were you doing then?
Between the ages of 20 and 44, there were several minor excursions into the personal development field. I did do some seminars. Attended a lot of seminars, and I did do some of my own, yes, but it really wasn't until I hit 45 that I began the journey I'm on now.
It's amazing because if you look at most people come very successful from the age of about 48 to 55. That's the break that they have in their journey. And everything then, except for now, you hear the occasional millionaire, the .com millionaire, but the average on it. Is it something that you're discovering still to this day? Do you believe that you have figured it out in some way?
No, I certainly do not. I have perhaps more understanding of the human journey than a lot of people do, but there's no way that I would ever dare to say that I have it figured out. I've believe that we're all on this journey of self-realization, self-actualization, and like every other soul that has chosen to become all that they can be, I'm still in the process of working on it.
What do you think the journey is for a lot of people?
Well, when you're younger, the journey is typically about material development and creating success in the material world, accumulating the visual symbols of success. As you get older, I think it's more about what kind of legacy can I leave and how can I contribute to my fellow human beings in meaningful ways.
I have 4 kids at home, well, adults and kids, and I have a 6-year-old, and I've ingrained into my 6-year-old, what are you? And she says she's a happy, healthy, wealthy little girl. And I'm ingraining that into them. But I was speaking to a colleague there last week, and he does a selection of courses that help people. And the one thing that he found that people click on the most is, what am I doing here? What value can I bring to society? And that's the biggest question that he's asked all the time on it. As a family, you grew up listening to all the positivity and listening to all our mentors that people are still tuning into today. What was the one thing that you realised? Is it prosperity that people are having an issue with? Is it abundance, or is it self-worth, or are they a combination of everything?
Yeah, it is a combination, absolutely. Like I said, when people are younger, they're focused on the material well-being. And typically when they think of the word prosperity, they think about, the numbers in the bank account and, the fancy cars and homes and all of the accepted symbols of abundance in our society. When people start to mature as they're walking down the path towards self-realization, or call it a spiritual path if you want to, you begin to realize that your personal well-being and your ability to impact the lives of other people and be a contribution is considerably more important than accumulating material wealth. But I have to say, in my case, and in the case of many of the people that I've mentored and coached over the years, and the people that I've associated with, they find that when they let go of the lust for the material well-being and give themselves into the idea that their personal fulfillment comes from granting other people the gift of themselves, that suddenly the material wealth and well-being shows up in their lives.
Is that, say, gratitude?
Gratitude is the biggest thing that we can possibly give to ourselves. And the understanding that people, if they indulge themselves in being grateful for the gift of life is all by itself, and then all of the blessings that show up and the opportunities that show up, even those opportunities at the time that are disguised as obstacles or impediments, once they begin to learn the trick of being consciously grateful for the multitude of blessings that they have, they discover that their life gets magically better.
It is a journey that we're on. I do agree with you 100%. When we're younger, it's all the materials, it's the fast cars and it's the partying. And as you get older, and especially with myself, with having children, things change. And yes, I am on a journey. I've become more spiritual myself as I got older, but I haven't got religious spiritual, or I've got a realization that there's something bigger out there, that we are all connected and everything happens for a reason. And how do you drive that message to people that don't get it, or do you not let them go on their journey, or do we try and educate those people to believe, hey, look, there's something out there that's bigger than you or me, but your mind can't comprehend in it. Why don't you look into it?
Well, it is the mystery. I consider myself to be a spiritual human being. In my public presentations, I don't dwell an awful lot on spirituality. Certainly don't talk about religion. Everybody has the freedom to choose their own path and how they follow that path and what tools they can use to accomplish where they think they need to get to. One can only look in wonder at the scope of the universe and the glory of the universe, whether it's the single blade of grass or that flower that attracts your attention, or the vastness of the billions of galaxies that are out there that Hubble has shown to us, and see that there is something vast and glorious and beyond human understanding, and just stand in reverence of that vastness of the mystery, and understand that we are contained within that wonder, and that it is at the same time contained within us because it's contained within our human imagination. And as a consequence of that awestruckness of beholding the glory of the universe, I think you come into a state of reverence for it all, and a sense of the miracle of our own existence within all of that.
Yeah, I think its evolution is still expanding through the universe and the galaxy. It probably created, as we know, the Gaia theory, and everything moves at one and everything is the same, and it's created out into the universe, and the universe is still expanding. So as divine, or whatever we call it, spirit guide, it's still expanding, and we're helping towards that as well.
Oh, absolutely. Everything that we Everything that we feel, everything that we believe, everything that we enact in the world is, in fact, adding to the totality of the universe. I mean, the universe contains everything, including all of our thoughts and feelings and emotions and actions. So when we consciously go about creating things rather than accidentally or without any intent or purpose, when we consciously go about creating things, we are consciously contributing to the totality of it all.
You know, there's some of those thoughts out there I'd like to pull back, and some of my history as well. But it's all a learning process for ourselves. You talk about paradigms as well, a paradigm shift. Can you walk us through some of those paradigms that can help people change their minds and develop prosperity?
Well, yes, I suppose I could. I usually charge for that information.
Okay.
Coaching information. Essentially, we become fully creative individuals capable of making manifest in our world when we begin with the understanding that everything that every human being and humanity as a whole has ever created, from the simplest stone axe to the most complex bit of modern technology, first began in the creative imagination of a single human being. And that is an enormous understanding, because that means that you can create in your own imagination, your own ideals, that which you care to make manifest in the world, and bring that forth, because that's how everything has been brought forth. So once you understand the creative power of your imagination, get clear about what it is that you want, get firmly passionate about what it is that you want, define it, set up a very systematic approach to building that in the outside world, in the material world, you can move progressively forward to the realization of your ideals.
Yeah, it's like one of the programs that I speak about. I talk about mindset, marketing and sales. And in the mindset, I talk to people about their self-worth, talked about what's going on in their head, getting them to really figure out it's all coming from within. And the other thing that I talk to people then, the next step is clarity. And then after clarity, it's taking action. And you'd be amazed the amount of people that you ask a question to, what do you want? And they'll all tell you what they don't want. So is it triggered in our subconscious mind as we're growing up with the negativity? Money doesn't grow on trees. You can't have that. Our schools teach us to conform in a certain way. And are all these feeding into our minds that we're all bungling around, not sure what we want in life?
Yes. Before we get into that a little bit, I'd like to quote Mark Twain, who said, "I can tell anybody how to get what they want. I just can't find anybody who knows exactly what they want."
Yeah, wonderful.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we are from birth programmed with a set of expectations. Despite the best intentions of our parents who loved us, and despite the best intentions of the educational system that we go through progressively from kindergarten all the way through the uni, we are trained to look at things with limitation. And we are trained to expect certain things in a certain lifestyle and a certain way of going about life. Those limitations, of course, are, self-fulfilling prophecies, right? We talk to ourselves all day, every day, and the self-talk that we indulge in is the way we define reality to ourselves. So we're defining our reality by that subconscious self-talk. If we learn to identify and change that self-talk, we can actually change our reality, at least our reality picture.
Yeah. Well, and that's what it is. Everything is the subconscious mind the habits that we do and we have, and they're ingrained. They could be ingrained from our parents, they could be ingrained from our grandparents, or they could be ingrained from our great-great-grandparents, because these issues are picked up as we go along as children. And I'm sure we all have bad habits that we have told our children, and you see our eldest going, "Oh, you're like your father," or "You're like your mother," and that's gone through. It's like a switch, isn't it? It's, for myself, I'm very self-aware, and it's taken me a decade to figure it out along the way. You see people out there, they're not lost, they're confused, they don't believe that their lives will be ever better. How can we, as best serve people, show people the way to kind of go, look, there is a better way, try this to switch your mind? Or is it repetition to get them to understand that they can be better and more successful?
Well, if you plant the seeds, when you're given the opportunity to plant the seeds, now the reality of the story is that there are many, many people out there, maybe even the majority of people, who are unwilling to accept help, unwilling to accept advice. You cannot give advice to somebody who does not want advice. So they have to be willing to ask for it, or at least be open to it. What makes it easy for people who are in my situation, does public speaking and seminars, is that the people who show up are already willing. So, to some degree, some of them are resistant, but they show up. So they're willing on some level. So that makes it easy. I mean, you can't, I don't think, walk down the street randomly and pick up a crack addict and say, here's how you change your life, right? No. I don't think you can do that level of intervention with people. But those people who are willing, you definitely can extend a helping hand and show them a tried and true method for empowering themselves and changing their lives and reaching out for a better version or a better vision of themselves. It's baby steps, right? Yeah. We're all afraid to fly.
That's the power of free choice. That's what we were given, to either take that step or not. I often say that 25% of people will get what you do. There's 25% of people that will sit on the fence, but kind of get what you do, but they're not too sure. And then there's 50% of people will never get you, will think you're an idiot, will think God, it should be locked up. And you never want to convince those, you'll never convince those 50%. What's the future for yourself then as well? I know that you're here in Dublin at the moment, and you were saying you're heading off to Singapore and then to Vietnam, and then you're coming back as well.
Yes, well, those are essentially personal things. Singapore is a convention that both Declan and I are going to. It's a business thing. And then I'm journeying over to Vietnam, because I've long held Vietnam as a place I wanted to visit. I understand it's beautiful from the people that have been there. But I mean, there's the residual energetic things of the Vietnam War that I want to experience for myself, rather than have this residual emotional content that I have, because I was a Vietnam War protester back in the day. Okay. So that's how old I am. Yeah. And I want to be there so that I can harmonize the way my residual memory of that goes.
We're just going to take a short break. Are you looking to boost your performance, motivate your sales team, have an all-round structure to your marketing? Get in touch with myself at Breakthrough Brands, or contact me at joe@jdc.ie. Leslie, you travel all over the world.
Yes.
You do conferences all over the world. You've written how many books?
7.
7 books. What's the one thing that you find what people come up to you and ask the question after each conference?
Most of the time, I mean, there are a million questions that people ask. The most common one that I get is, what do I need to do next?
Interesting. Yeah. And what do you say? Buy my book?
Occasionally, yes. That's what I say. Go through my books, yeah. No. I tell people that, they have to follow their heart. And I'm going to come back to this in a second. But there is always, always, always a message within that if you listen clearly, it will tell you what your next step is. Difficulty most people have is that they don't trust themselves enough to listen to that internal message. They're always looking outside of themselves to find the answer. And the answer is always inside. It's insight, it's intuition, it's intellect, it's all in.
Yeah, it is intuition. Is it trying to stop all that chutter that's going on inside? Is that the difficult part that people have?
Yes.
I say to people, if you're trying to say meditate and they're trying to meditate, I said, tell the brain to shut up, listening to the heart and listening to what the soul has to say.
Yes.
And following your gut, your intuition or whatever it is on it. And when you say that to people, did they just go, okay, wander off and go?
No, they usually say, how do I do that? And one of the answers is, of course, learn how to meditate.
Yeah.
And that's one of the answers. And the other one is, obviously, and you've already said it several times, learn to listen to that internal chatter.
Yeah.
Right. So find out what you're saying to yourself, and then find an effective way to change that internal talk, because it is your subconscious controlling factor that moves you towards whatever direction it wants you to move towards. And if it's corrupted by false information, then it's going to take you down false paths.
I think some people find the problem is not knowing, is it their mind talking to them or is it their intuition? You know, they might get into that meta state and they might go, okay, I'm looking for that answer to a question. And it's trying to figure out that fine switch between, is that my intuition or is that just my mind telling me this?
Well, the mind chatter is fairly easy to recognize because it moves around very quickly. It has a very short attention span.
Yeah.
Okay? It's like a monkey is sitting on the clicker and changing the channels constantly. That's the mind chatter. The intuition, the heart, the language of the heart or the gut or soul or whatever you want to call it, is a long, slow, repetitive voice that talks the same message again and again and again until you say, yes, I hear you.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference. You understand, like if the channel's changing all the time and the thoughts are changing all the time, that's the mental chatter that is useless stuff. And if it's the same message over and over again, and it's clear, and it gets clearer and clearer and louder, that's the voice you should trust.
I'd like to ask you a question,
Sure.
and it's, what's the best business advice that you have ever received?
Well, let's go back to the heart. This is from a guy who was a billionaire, and I asked him that same question, what's the best business advice you can give me? And his answer was, trust your heart, but use your mind.
And what book would you recommend apart from your own?
I would say probably the best one, given the nature of our conversation today, would be The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton.
I met Bruce a couple of years ago. He's a great man.
He is indeed a great man.
Yeah.
Big heart.
Yeah. Met him and he was doing a talk. I met him, myself and my wife, and he's a great man indeed. Where can people find you? What's the website that people can reach out to yourself to find all the information and all your books and everything as well?
Oh, that's very simple. LeslieFieger.com. LeslieFieger.com.
And are all your books on Amazon as well?
Yes, of course.
And if someone wants to wanted to read one of your books, which one would they start with? Because, with so many, we have so many choices and they're going to go, okay, where do I start? Which one?
I always recommend the same book, and I wrote it for this purpose, to be accessible for everybody, on a common level. And that's a book called Your Prosperity Paradigm.
Okay. And that's the tips and the tools in there that will help people.
11 steps to creating and living a super successful life.
Brilliant. And you're coming back to Dublin on Athlone, is it? You're coming back on the 21st of
August the 11th.
August 11th. Sorry.
At the
August
Sheraton
11th.
in Athlone.
Athlone on it. And people can buy those tickets where, if they need be?
Well, they can go to my website. I created a page on my website, so it's LeslieFieger.com/Athlone.
And they can find them there.
And they can find them there.
And get lots of knowledge on the day as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Leslie, before we go, what song would you like us to play out with?
Oh, Van Morrison, Into the Mystic.
Beautiful. Leslie, thanks for coming on to Breakthrough Brands. It's been a pleasure. And I will see you in Athlone.
Perfect. Well, thank you for having me on.
Someone wanted to read one of your books, which one would they start with? Because, with so many, we have so many choices and they're going to go, okay, where do I start? Which one?
I always recommend the same book, and I wrote it for this purpose, to be accessible for everybody, on a common level. And that's a book called Your Prosperity Paradigm.
Okay. And that's the tips and the tools in there that will help people.
11 steps to creating and living a super successful life.
Brilliant. And you're coming back to Dublin on Athlone, is it? You're coming back on the 21st of
August the 11th.
August 11th. Sorry.
At the Sheraton in Athlone.
Athlone on it. And people can buy those tickets where, if they need be?
Well, they can go to my website. I created a page on my website, so it's LeslieFieger.com/Athlone.
And they can find them there.
And they can find them there.
And get lots of knowledge on the day as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Leslie, before we go, what song would you like us to play out with?
Oh, Van Morrison, Into the Mystic.
Beautiful. Leslie, thanks for coming on to Breakthrough Brands. It's been a pleasure, and I will see you in Athlone.
Perfect. Well, thank you for having me on your show. It's been an honor, privilege.
Thank you. You and I know we can always do better. Breakthrough Brands Sales Acceleration Specialists, helping companies reach peak performance by introducing a marketing strategy to build a better prospect pipeline. Develop your leadership and sales skills with Breakthrough Brands Custom Sales Training Development. Go to Breakthrough Brands at www.jdc.ie or click the link on this page to see if Breakthrough Brands and you can work together. Great companies build a great relationship with their clients. Sales and marketing starts with a story. Let us help you with yours. Breakthrough Brands.